Hello and welcome to Front Row Racing. It's Friday night, which means it's time for the FRR-idays Cup, round 13 in Singapore at the Marina Bay Circuit. As I'm sure we all know, this is a very difficult racetrack. Plenty of walls, plenty of barriers, and lots of corners, which the drivers are going to have to navigate around. I'm Front Row Racing DP, otherwise known as Dave Lays in Beds. I'll be doing commentary this evening, and joining me in the commentary box is Front Row Racing RI, otherwise known as Ray Brooks. How are you this evening, Ray?
Not very well.
Good.
But out of routine, been parked in my bedroom.
You've been moved from the living room to the bedroom, but that means we won't get to hear any Friday night TV. Okay, a little bit of information for the drivers and the viewers. The FRR-idays Cup is the feeder series into the Front Row Racing F1 leagues, the World Championship, the No Assist League, hosted on Wednesdays, and the World Series, the Assist Allowed League, hosted on Thursdays. For the FRR-idays, the drivers turn up, race clean, race fair, and they get the opportunity to go onto the reserve driver list for the relevant league. And then if one of the league drivers needs a reserve for a particular race, they can call on one of those reserves. The reserve drivers score points for the team, not for themselves, which is to help aim towards a bit of a target for the drivers. Okay, drivers we've got in with us this evening. We've got Tyler, R2003, and we've got Twist Royalty. We've got John Rhinos and Azamort, Millstar, Stringy B, Aha Alex and Aha Danny. I'm guessing those two know each other. Lefty Hardtail and RDB, Boran C2709 and that guy Myron 2000, and Will Butler and Drew 87110. A couple of drivers let me know, or at least one did. Mr. Hamilton 44, he let me make today's race, and he also asked whether he would still be able to stay on the reserve driver list. Well, the way we kind of do it is, for example, Stringy B and Will Butler, because it's first come first serve for invites, they couldn't get in last week. If they're on the reserve driver list, they stay on it. And for Mr. Hamilton 44, he will also stay on it. The way you get off the reserve driver list is if you do some really dodgy stuff on track. Now, I know last week's race in Monza, there was quite a lot of incidents going on in the early stages of the race, and having looked back at it, a lot of it was just a little bit of unfortunate bumping and grinding, and once the first collision had happened, it had a knock-on effect down the grid. Okay, it's just about time then to send the drivers over to the racetrack, where, interestingly enough, there's about 23 corners around this track, and not one of them seemed to have a name. They've named the straights in Singapore. I'm guessing they like to do things a little bit differently around here. Now, it is a street circuit, which means it's dirty, it's dusty, it's bumpy, so setup for the drivers could be absolutely vital around here. So as they make their final preparations, get their final bits of a drink, a bite to eat, a little huff on their e-cigs or whatever they choose to do, we all know that this is going to be a difficult one. But for the drivers, Ray, if there's one thing they don't want around here, it's rain. It's time then for the Front Row Racing FRR-idays Cup, round 13 in Singapore, and Ray's probably left his microphone on mute as he was talking to me then. He likes doing that.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
You just didn't want to talk. So yeah, rain.
Yeah, usually it rains at this track. Every time I've been on it, there's been rain. Heavy cloud followed by possible showers, so
it could rain.
For some interest.
Yeah. And interestingly as well, if you look at the temperatures, air temperature of 27 degrees, track temperature of 29 degrees, it's not very warm, which means if it does rain and it stops raining, it doesn't dry up very quickly around here, which can be very frustrating for the drivers, because at a lot of tracks, Monza, Spain, a lot of tracks where it can rain, when it stops, it can dry up very quickly. Here, it doesn't really do that. Oh, Alex having a bit of a moment out of the pit exit there. Now, one of the things I would also say to all of the FRR-idays drivers as well and that is to have a look at the Front Row Racing stewards guides for the tracks that they are practicing for. So, for example, once this event is over, the next event for the FRR-idays Cup will be round 14 in Suzuka. So once this event is over, go onto the Front Row Racing YouTube channel and have a look for the stewards guide for Suzuka. It has lots of very, very important information. Which, if they get to be on the reserve list and have a reserve drive, they will need to know. But it's very useful for the FRR-idays drivers to watch those videos so they can put the items on that video into effect in these races, and then we can spot the kind of things like Alex here. He's just had a bit of a mare through a chicane. Now, if he was on a qualifying lap, okay, it would be validated, but if he was riding on board with him in the race, we'd be able to see him do an ETO lift. Now, Alex, I think, raced with us last week. There's two Ahas. One of them raced with us last week, the other one didn't. I can't remember which is which, but I know you've got I think you've got a comment, Ray. No, we haven't had a comment from the Ahas, have we?
No,
I
had a comment.
Well, I'm sure for next week we might. The drivers are welcome to send myself or Ray a PSN message, preferably about an hour before the event, so that we can get them noted down and we can comment on their views of the upcoming event. But Alex about to start his first flying lap here, very cautious into turn 1, 2, now a bit wide through 3, so slowing down on entry when really he wanted to be on the power, and then on the power and really want to be slowing at 5. Oh, nearly took too much corner there. I would say perhaps showing a little bit of nerves or lack of confidence about his setup or this particular circuit. It can be quite a daunting one. Now into turn 7 and onto the Nicol Highway. Very short run into the very tight turn 8, and it looks like he's abandoning this lap and letting another car go by. Let's see, Stringy B, he's out. It looks like he's on an out lap. Unfortunately, he didn't get into the session last week, so he did get into the session this week. And one of the things we will try and do as well, if a driver misses out on an invite one week, they're a little too late, we'll perhaps think about sending them an early invite to give them the opportunity of getting in, and then first come first served for everybody else. So Stringy B starting his flying lap. Ray, I think you might have a little bit of information about last season's FRR-idays Cup qualifying and race lap times.
Yeah, Singapore last season qualifying was a 140.599, and that was done by Stocky. And the race lap time was a 142.785, and that was set by Stringy B.
So the driver we're on board with at the moment had the fastest lap of the race last season, although he did not get to the end of the race. Now, a little bit of additional information for the viewers. The settings for the FRR-idays event, it's a short qualifying session of 18 minutes, then it's a 25% race distance. Dynamic weather is on and all the cars are set to equal. Damage is turned off, and that's to give the drivers every opportunity of recovering from an accident, because the idea of these is that we get to see how they drive, not necessarily how the cars crumble. Also, parc ferme is turned off, so the drivers, if they want to, can make changes during qualifying or load a different setup up before the race. Stringy B, he's had a sector 1 of a 30.3 and a 40.0, but I think his lap time may have been invalidated. His time is not ticking over, so he will either chuck it into the pits or go for another lap. And having mentioned the pits, the stewards guides give very good information about pit entries and pit exits. Definitely one of the reasons to watch the stewards guides. Okay, let's see who else we have out on track at the moment. Will Butler, he's currently sat in 8th place at the moment. Looks like he may be on another flying lap. He's had a sector 1 of a 29.5, a 39.7 for sector 2, and a 36.0 for sector 3. I'm wondering if his previous lap was invalidated though.
I was on board that that my guy won and his start time seems to be invalidated.
Okay, so that guy Myron struggling a little bit with the track limits. The FIA strict ruling, that is a setting that is on, and the reason for that is it's what's used in the main league events. So for the drivers in these FRR-idays events, it's very handy for them to know. I tell you what, the chicane up at turn 11 and 12 seems to be the one that's invalidating a few drivers' laps. Now, one thing we know from experience is that sometimes where we see a car be visually on the broadcast view here might not be exactly where the car is on the driver's own view. It is one of the reasons why for the World Championship and the World Series, recording the driver's event is a requirement of entry into those leagues.
Just watching when Boran was finished his flying lap, that my guy Big Ron went straight through into the back of him, and now in the next lap Boran's just done the same to him as payback, which isn't really what we want to see.
Definitely not. I mean, sometimes accidents do happen. One of the things we do not want to see is revenge attacks. That is a clear fire way of getting yourself not invited into future events. He's on a flying lap here. I mean, something I didn't mention is the tyres. He's just had the lap invalidated as well. Is the tyres. The yellow marked soft tyre is the prime tyre around Singapore, and the red marked super soft tyre is the option tyre around here. Now, with it being a 25% race, some drivers may choose to qualify on the prime tyre to use the option tyre later on. That's a terribly bad late pit entry there from Boran, and he's now crashed the car into the pit lane. If this was a league event in a race, he would be looking at getting a penalty, pit entry penalty for that style of entry there. So something to keep an eye on is Boran's pit entry in the race rate. Okay, let's see who else we have out on track. Millstar's currently on pole position with Ahar Danny in second place. Twist Royalty's just starting a flying lap. He's got a car come out the pits right ahead of him, and thankfully they get out of the way. But it looks like Twist Royalty's car may be lagging about a little bit. Let's see how he gets on through turn 4, taking quite a nice amount of curb there. Now hard on the power down the Raffles Boulevard and making his way up to turn 7. It's quite an interesting braking zone, this one. You can take a lot of speed through this corner if you get the braking right, but I am going to jump off this Royalty because his car is jumping about a little bit. John Rhino's on the super soft tyre. He's done a sector 1 of a 30.6, a 40.1 sector 2, and I think he's going for the pit lane. He is, and even though his car's jumping about a bit, it might be a slow pit entry, but it's a correct pit entry. That's what I like to see. It's one of the reasons why we want the drivers to enter the pit lane correctly. You saw the speed difference between the way Boran took the pit lane and the way John Rhino's took the pit lane. One's correct, one's fair, the other one's not correct, too fast, and really shouldn't be done. In qualifying sessions in the league though, admittedly pit entries and pit exit penalties are not added. In the races they are, and anyone that wants to try and argue a pit entry when they enter it the way that Boran appeared to, you're going to be wasting your breath. Okay, Drew, it looks like he's on an outlap at the moment, so we'll see who else we've got. Ahar Alex on his way into the pits. That guy Myron having a very, very odd line down towards turn 1 and 2. It says he's on an outlap, so I wonder if he's come out of the pits and sort of gone straight onto the racetrack there.
Yeah, Drew's just coming up to do his flying lap now.
Okay, so we'll see how Drew gets on here then. And Drew did ask me before this event, he asked me for the question, or the answer of the question from yesterday's event, the 2 coins question. And for anyone that was watching and didn't find out the answer is 1 in 4. And if you can't work that out, I won't tell you. You just have to have it bug you until you Google it. Okay, Ray, who have you got eyes on? Or are you watching Drew here as he makes his way into turn 7?
Yeah, I'm watching Drew, yeah. That was close on the line there for coming out the exit there.
He's not exactly sort of taking the car to the maximum edge of the track limits, but one of the things that is advisable to all drivers is, with the FIA's strict ruling on, then really you go out, you get a banker lap in, then you can look at trying to push the car a little bit more. I mean, see there, Drew's just ran a little bit wide on the exit of the corner, and some people may think, well, he's not off the track, the barrier's there. Well, the perhaps annoying fact of it is, white lines mark the edge of the circuit here. It's just on the left of the car there, just on the right here. We can see the white lines here. You go over those white lines a little bit too much and your lap will be invalidated. And there's a few areas on this track where drivers may want to take the car all the way up to the barrier, but by doing so can take them over the white line. Now, on the FRR stewards guides, there's a few corners where they say they'll be a little bit lenient, as in no other driver can report you on that corner. Excuse me, but if the game gives an in-game penalty for it, it's because the game feels advantages have been gained there. So it's an interesting one, but turn 4 is the kink here. Turn 5, a lot of people like to go up to the barrier. By doing so, you are technically off the track. Azamor, he's just starting a flying lap on a set of super soft tyres, so let's ride on board with him and see how he gets on around the circuit here. Now, Azza does have quite a bit of experience with racing in FRR, having raced in the World Series for a couple of seasons and having done a few World Series reserve drives this season. So heading up to turn 7, braking at about 100 metres, but he's braking quite early to make sure he can get it turned in and avoid the exit curb. Turn 8, don't want to brake too late here. Nicely turned in, hard on the power now, give it a good squirt and then be confident around this horrible little corner. Now we head up to what used to be called the Singapore Sling, and I do prefer the way the corner is now. Oh, his little clip of the barrier there, but he's holding his speed. Now he's got to be confident through the chicane. It's cautious, but not too bad. Sector 1 of a 30.1. Oh, he's taking a very tight line into the hairpin. Could make him run wide. He's okay though. Now hard on the power again. Flat out into a tricky, slightly downhill braking zone. Very easy to take too much corner, too much curb, too much speed, or a bit of a wiggle there for Azamor. That's his lap over. Perhaps not overly pleased with his sector 2 time. No, he's left the session. So that's Azamor out of the session at the moment. RDB, he's on a flying lap at the moment. Sector 1, previous best of a 29.0. And he's going to be heading up to the end of Sector 1. Time about to stop. He's on what would look like an in-lap as he lets a car go by. And Millstart still running in first place at the moment, but not out on track. He's done a lap time of 1:41.8, and Ray, I believe he sent us a comment, a pre-race comment before this event.
Yeah, he said he's very confident about today. He managed to get a 40.2 in time trial. Maranello is the target again, but he's not in, was he? Nope,
Maranello's not racing this evening, so that target's gone. He's going to have to find a new one. Now Tyler, R2003, he's had a decent sector 1 but messed up turn 7, but I believe he had some pre-race comments for us as well.
He says, I'm good at Singapore, but it's like the little brother of Monaco. You can hit a wall and tyre wear can be an issue.
It definitely can around this track. With it being such a stop-start track, as in it's squirt at the throttle, hard on the brakes, squirt at the throttle, hard on the brakes, squirt at the throttle, hard on the brakes, it does give quite a bit of punishment to the tyres. Danny, he's now out on track, super soft tyre, starting a flying lap. So as he makes his way onto the Raffles Boulevard, much smoother through there than we've seen quite a few drivers. He's got a car ahead of him, which hopefully will not hold him up in any way, shape or form on his lap. Braking nice and late, perhaps a little bit too late, may still be able to carry the speed around the corner. Getting it turned in early, might run a little wide, but it's not too bad. Trying to use as much of the road as possible, can't quite turn it in for the apex, means he's a little late on the brakes. The car ahead looks like they know there's a car behind, but can see they're not close enough just yet for them to actively move out of the way. Oh, and now Hardani is just taking too much curb, and that is his lap over, but he has got enough time to get round to the start finish and start another flying lap. Millstar.
I'm just watching while Butler, he's down, I've lost what corner he's into or what straight he's on. He's in the chicane now. He got a wee bit by a car, but the car goes, so he just went for it.
Fair enough. Well, it may be one of the retired drivers' cars that was on the track. He's done a Sector 1 of a 29.7, a Sector 2 of a 39.5. Looks like the tail of the car is wanting to wag about a lot around here. This is one of the very tricky chicanes on the circuit, I must admit, and then we're into the stadium section where we go under the grandstand. Very easy to crash the car through here. You do need the Tunnel of Doom, as you and Adam, I believe, named it a couple of seasons ago. It was looking like a fairly decent lap from Will Butler, but it looks like it may have been invalidated. And it was, but it was a 1:44.389. Tyler's session is over. I think Millstar was setting up for another fly-in lap. He's on an out lap, so I might just keep an eye on him to see if he can improve on his current lap time, although with a few drivers retiring now, he may feel he doesn't need to go for it, but he looks like he's going to anyway, and we've got 30 seconds until we're going to be kicked up into the commentary box.
Yeah,
so
that time of Will Butler would have put him up to 5th place.
Yeah. So it would have been 5th place, but with the invalidation, it's going to be 14th place for him, at least starting down there. It's going to allow him to choose any tyre he wants to start the race on. So Millstar then, he's now on the Raffles Boulevard, and we have been kicked back up to the commentary box, so we'll see if we can get back on board with Millstar. We won't be able to see sector times anymore, which is really frustrating. I mean, one of the things that I would love Codemasters to be able to do is have a timing list on the side of the screen for us in spectate mode. I'd also actually like them to allow us to have 1 or 2 sort of admin positions in the lobbies so that we can choose not to be part of the qualifying session or the race, so we don't have to retire and we can actually watch the start of the race in spectator view as soon as the lights go out. So Millstar heading into sector 2 then. I'm fairly sure he usually drives a Force India, but this week going for the Ferrari, perhaps with F1 Roadrunner not being in the lobby, it's given Millstar the chance to pick the car he really wants. So now into the Tunnel of Doom, taking quite a tight first part of it to open up the second part. It can help gain extra time, avoiding the curbs as best as possible, trying to avoid any kind of invalidation around the final corners now. It's looked like a fairly decent lap, and I wouldn't be surprised if he did improve on his time, but Boran taking another dodgy pit entry there on his in lap. But yeah, it didn't flash up with a... Oh, Stringy B up to 3rd place then, manages to pop that in right at the end. But yeah, I mean, we will have to keep an eye on the drivers' pit entries, and what I would say is, for any of the other drivers, if you do see the drivers doing dodgy pit entries on the track, feel free to send them a message saying, come on fella, do it right, watch the steward's guides, it will tell you how it should be done. Okay.
Because it's no point in doing a reserve and then you're doing the pit entries and then you're getting, what, a 20-second penalty.
Exactly. I mean, that's one of the things about it. With the drivers recording the footage, it allows the other league drivers to be able to look at the footage and look for things like ETLs and dodgy pit entries. And as a reserve, if you come in and you're found to be doing really dodgy pit entries, one, you'll end up getting quite large penalties, and 2, you'll end up off the reserve driver list. Now, obviously, there is the opportunity to improve, and for someone like Boran, he might not know. So for him, he'll watch this back, he'll then now find out, okay, what I've done there isn't right. He'll then be able to watch the Suzuka Stewards Guide, or even the Singapore one, to see how he should have been doing it. Okay, it's time then for the front row racing FRR-idays Cup round 13 Singapore Grand Prix, and we're hoping for nice clear weather. I would say sunny, but we know it's going to be night time. So as the driver prepared on the grid, dodgy weather. But I tell you what, Ray, one of the things you're not going to be able to do around this track is go look at the sky. It's really cloudy, or clouds have come in because it's just dark.
We'll just look for the grey outlines of the clouds.
Well, what we probably would find is it does actually look a little bit overcast at the moment. If it was a perfectly clear night, we may actually see stars and the Milky Way and the moon. But with these clouds, I would guess we're not going to be seeing that. Okay, quick look at the strategy. It's a 25% race, so should be a one-stop. Suggesting that the option tyres will last about 6 or 7 laps and the prime tyres will do 9. So should be an easy one-stop race for the drivers. But this is one of those situations I was on about, where if Codemasters allowed an admin slot in the lobby, we now wouldn't have to retire from the race. We'd be able to watch it from the start, see any first corner collisions, commentate on it straight away. But we can't do that. So 1 lights, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, they're going to go out. So let's get racing, and away they go down into turn 1, where hopefully there's not going to be too much drama. But what we have seen in previous events is quite a few drivers getting very, very racy early on, which ends up with cars going sideways. Someone has spun either by themselves or from the effect of somebody else. Okay, a quick look up at the front. It looks like we've still got Millstar leading the race. Second place, Stringy B, Lefty Hardtail in third, and then we've got the Ahars. Oh, Ahar Alex, very, very wide there. That could compromise him heading into the next chicane. Oh, too much corner, hits the barrier. That's going to put him under a lot of pressure from the cars behind. This is a moment to compose yourself, fella. It's not going to be easy, so keep it clean. If they're going to overtake, just let them go. Give some space. He's ran a little wide. That's what happens when you end up out of position and under attack. He's now all over the place. It's a tricky situation to find yourself in, especially when you've got as many cars on the grid as we have. Go on, Ray, what have you got?
Got that with that Megan Ron, and I think it was John Reynolds.
So a little bit of contact down at the back of the grid. Oh, that guy Myron is into the barrier. Boran goes with him. John Rhinos Williams decides to turn itself into a bike and go 2 wheels instead of having all 4 on the track. But this is where, for the drivers, it's a case of, okay, you're in a race, but you just got to try and focus on, right, keep it on the track, keep it clean. That guy Myron really struggling at the moment. Compose yourself, fella. Obviously, first lap's not gone too well, so calm it down and just see how you get on. Millstar still leading up at the front with Stringy B behind him, who had the fastest lap of the race last season. Lefty Hardtail in third place, who has shown himself to be fairly quick in previous events.
Yeah, I'm just on board with Will Butler. He's right behind Drew 87.
Drew, yeah, and
Alex had a bad getaway from that corner, and Drew's overtook him. Will Butler's looking to go in inside 3 wide. Oh, wow. Will Butler had to just give that up.
Well, I don't think he was given much choice about giving that one up. 3 wide into that corner is not an easy way to go into that corner. Always a heart. Alex clips the barrier. I mean, one of the things I would say to these drivers as well is we've seen that guy Myron struggle a little bit, hit a few barriers. What the drivers really need to do is, okay, damage is not on, but they really want to try and drive as if damage is on, because if it was, that guy Myron, he'd be out of the race. Ahar Alex, he'd have lost a front wing, and so might a couple of the others. Oh, well, Butler chucking up the insides, a little bit of a late move, but I tell you what, Alex did manage to spot him, give him a little bit of room there, but now he's getting very, very close. But Will Butler choosing not to fight it at that point. We're now into a bit of a single file section. Alex trying to go defensive. Will Butler can't get past there. Oh, he's trying to chuck it up the inside of the next corner. That didn't quite work. FRR-idays has stopped, though. You don't want to reverse on the track. You're going to get yourself disqualified. Drive forward and then let him through if you feel it was your fault. That's where experience comes into it. Okay, Drew, he's up to 8th place, all on his own at the moment on track. Twist Royalty is in 7th with RDB, who is fairly quick, and Tyler in 5th place. So this could get very interesting as RDB takes quite a wide entry. DRS will now be available down the Raffles Boulevard. We've got the Force India of RDB going for the move here, but he's just clipped the barrier. That could give Tyler the opportunity to fight back at him with a better corner. Not quite able to do it. Having a look up the inside, and Twist Royalty having a look on the outside. And that is one of the difficulties of this track. If you're like the 4th or 5th car in a train, if the cars ahead end up going a little slow, you've got to go slow as well. If you just go chucking it into the mix, chances are it's going to end badly.
Yeah,
okay.
It's been quite exciting. There's been a lot to talk about.
There has. It's been all action in these first 3 laps.
He's catching Millstars.
He is. He's been gaining, but not only is he catching him, he's bringing along Lefty Hardtail along for the ride as well. Now, with Millstar and Stringy B being in the same car, it could get a little bit tricky when it comes to making their pit stops. But what I will say is, Ray, this is going to be a difficult task for you, and that is trying to keep an eye on pit entries. I mean, this is something else that Codemasters, it would be really, really good to do. Now, some people may go, oh, you're only saying this so you can penalise people. No, it's for fairness.
Are you a bit late into the pit entry? Tyler's on the pits.
Okay, so Tyler's into the pits with a little bit of a late pit entry. But yeah, if we had static cameras, right, around the track, so for example a camera that looks at the last couple of corners, that allows you to see the pit entry, and then when I've just said to Ray, do us a favour, just keep an eye on the pit entry for us, and then he can sit there on that camera angle around about the pit window time and go, he's done a good one, he's done a good one, he's done a good one, oh my days, what has he just done? Always Lefty Hardtail gets very, very close to Stringy B, and perhaps give him a little bit of a nudge there. But these guys now getting a little bit spread out. Now obviously, Ray, one that we did want to keep an eye on was Boran at C2709, because we did see him do a really dodgy pit entry twice in the qualifying. But up at the front here, it's quite an interesting tactical, strategic lap time battle going on.
0.8 of a difference between Millstar and Stringy B. Then it's 1.2 down to Lefty Hardtail. No, it's 0.8. It's jumping about.
Well, I'll tell you what, Tyler, after his pit stop, he's come out in 12th place, now on the prime tyre, behind FRR-idays, who looks like he's still struggling a little bit around the Singapore circuit. But it's one of those situations for Alex where, okay, he's now got a car that's pitted and is behind him. Yes, obviously you want to race and you want to attack and you want to defend, but you've also got to think, right, is it worth my while just following this guy for a little bit? Let him go past. He appears to be faster. Let him go past and just follow him and see where I'm losing time. It's not a bad thing to do. I mean, I do it. Kev187 does it. Many drivers do it. They'll follow a driver for a few laps to work out where they're faster, where they're slower. Oh, we've got a Williams sideways in the tunnel of doom. I think that might have been John Rhino's Williams, as FRR-idays and Tyler still battling it out here. Now, I heard you go, ooh, race, so what was that one for? Oh, FRR-idays, that was terrible.
Done and a good pit stop. We got
Good.
it in there in time, he slowed it down. So I must be watching the live stream as well.
Good. Well, that's what we like to see. Drivers perhaps realising, okay, I've got that wrong, and then doing it right. Alex, he's just had an absolute shocker of a penultimate corner, but it can be a little tricky when you are under pressure and under attack. Okay, Will Butler, he's in 8th place on his option tyres at the moment. Let's see how this battle is going on up at the front. Oh, we've got a car sideways. It's Lefty Hardtail. Yeah, Lefty Hardtail. He's just spun it. That's going to free up Stringy B and Millstar to fight this out at the moment. And really, for these two, the winner could be whoever pits first. And if you're Millstar, you want to be the person pitting first to get the overcut. And if you're Stringy B, you want to pit first so you can get the undercut. I mean, what would you do, Ray, in this situation? It suggests going 6-7 laps. Would you pit that lap earlier just to get the benefit of the undercut? Millstar's in the pits.
No, telling my teammate to dry, sorry.
You're an evil Scotsman. Well, Millstar has gone for the pit lane, so he has decided it is now time to make a pit stop, as a few of the other drivers are continuing on around the circuit. So
he's came out behind Lefty Hardtail near enough. Is he going to get traffic by Drew? No, he's going to be okay. I think he missed but no, he got it well. Where's he gone?
He's only just coming out of the pits now, it's saying. Just behind Will Butler in 7th place. So it may be a bit of a pit lane glitch that we've seen so often on the Codemasters game. It is really, really frustrating from a spectator point of view. So Millstar having pitted then in 7th place. Ahar Alex has retired from the session, perhaps realising that it's a little bit harder around Singapore than he was liking it to be. Now Lefty Hardtail is a little bit further up the road from Millstar. He's got Twist Royalty ahead of him, but Lefty Hardtail hasn't pitted yet, but he did have a spin as Twist Royalty, looks like he's struggling a little bit with connectivity. His car sliding about a little bit. Now I do know that when you see the car crabbing a little bit on the exit of corners, it tends to be the effect given when the car is losing the rear end. So power sliding out of the corners visually to us can look like it's a bit of a crab moment. So Stringy B then, he's leading the race towards the end of lap 6. He's going for the pit lane. Oh, he's not quite got it slowed down enough. He's ended up over the curbs. Oh, now he's lost it into the pits. That's going to cost him quite a bit of time there. And that now frees up Ahar Danny to take the lead of the race.
Lefty Hardtail lost that into the pits as well.
Oh dear, oh dear. Well, perhaps Codemasters have worked out a way to punish a driver for getting the pit entry wrong. It would be nice, but no. I mean, that's the thing. You go in too quick and you can end up back on the track, and you do have to be very, very careful. But Ahar Danny, he was a fair few seconds off the leading pair.
Started trying to be side by side while Butler's held up Millstar. So Millstar hasn't got much of an advantage.
You're right, he hasn't. So Millstar now trying to get past Will Butler. Stringy B trying to get past as well, but there's a bit of contact. Perhaps trying to fit into a gap that's not quite there. Will Butler, okay, he hasn't pitted yet, but he still has the right to fight for the position that he's in. And he's on option tyres, which will be 7 laps old now, but he did start at the back of the field, so his tyres were brand new. Oh no, now there's a bit of lag going on. So for Millstar and Stringy B, they may not know exactly where that car is at the moment, and it is so difficult to drive when you've got a car doing that around you. Oh, and it's taken Stringy B out. We didn't see, obviously we won't know exactly where those cars were in relation to each other, but it has resulted in Stringy B being spun around, and he's now trying to reverse his way down the Anderson Bridge. He couldn't really do much else in that situation if he's facing the wrong way, but he's going to have destroyed those tyres. Can he get it turned around without hitting the wall? No, he can't. He's in the barrier, and another car has managed to get past him. But a frustrating situation there for Stringy B. A very frustrating situation. Okay, let's find out. Ahar Danny, he's just leaving the pit lane now. Didn't get to see what his pit entry was like. But though the battle between the Ferraris, oh, and a Sauber just coming around turn 1 puts Ahar Danny down into 4th place. No, sorry, Ahar Danny's only just now coming out of the pits. There's the effect of the glitch for you. But Millstar, sorry, go on, Ray.
You get Twist Royalty to lead.
Well, I don't think Twist Royalty has pitted yet. Is he on option tyres or prime tyres, Ray?
Primes.
So he hasn't pitted yet. That means he's gone long. So I would expect to see him in the pits, perhaps at the end of this lap. And we've got Drew in second place. He's on option tyres, which I think he's been running since the start of the race. So lap 8 on those, if they were brand new, would not have been too much of a problem. Millstar is only 13 seconds off the leader, so when Twist Royalty does pit, he's going to come out about 10 seconds behind him. Ahar Danny says he's about a second behind Millstar, so perhaps that little bit of traffic for Millstar. Now it's more than a second. We need to let the sector times sort themselves out after Ahar Danny's pit stops. But Ahar Danny has got RDB beginning to catch him up, and if you give RDB any sort of chance, he's going to take it. So Ahar Danny is 18 seconds off the lead, 5-6 seconds off the car ahead.
And he's over the curbs.
Well, for clarification of the pit entry, it is worth watching the FRR Stewards guides, as I mentioned. The main part of it is to get the entry right, and then I can't remember exactly what was said for the rest of it. But Stringy B, his session is over. He had the opportunity to fight for the win of this race, so you can imagine his frustration being involved in the collision there. And we'll all get ready now for Twist Royalty's car to go round turn 1, disappear, and then go round turn 1 again. Deja vu at its greatest here in Singapore. Now, I've heard of going to India and getting Delhi belly, but now we've gone to Singapore for deja vu. But that's brought Twist Royalty out of the pits right behind Tyler R2003, and with Twist Royalty now on the option tyres, Tyler may find himself coming under a bit of pressure as Twist Royalty tries to get the car slowed down in time.
Millstar's took the lead over Drew.
Yep, so I think Drew will be... Well, I'm surprised he hasn't pitted already. Perhaps he just wants to try and get 10 laps out of the option tyres here. Well, here comes Twist Royalty towards turn 10. The Singapore Sling can't quite get a move done on entry. And this is one of those frustrating situations where you kind of just have to follow the guy to a degree, because if you don't, you could end up in the barrier, as they now head their way around the hairpin, side by side. And I tell you what, that Mercedes has got some fairly decent traction. But Twist Royalty may have a look down the inside. No, he's given the Mercedes a little bit of a nudge, sent him wide, touring car manoeuvre there, and Twist Royalty moves up a position. I've got a feeling Tyler may reciprocate that little bit of a love tap there. Big crash, big crash. Ahar Danny and Drew in the third sector. I didn't see exactly what happened there, but Ahar Danny, I think, was semi-spun. Drew was completely the wrong direction, and Ahar Danny is now under pressure from Lefty Hardtail in third place and RDB in fourth place. So plenty of collisions going on around Singapore here.
B says, as of well, would like some fighting for the lead.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. Sorry, I didn't catch that first bit.
It's like when Will lagged as he was fighting for the race, and so I don't think he's a wee bit happy about that.
Yeah, I mean,
there's nothing we can do about it at the moment.
It is awful when you are racing round and a car is ahead of you, lagging about like that. I mean, in those situations, I mean, there's not a lot that we can do. It is usually down to the driver's own connection. So we would suggest to Will Butler to try everything he can to try and improve the internet connection there. I mean, it is odd that it was fine for the first sort of 6-7 laps, and then all of a sudden went a bit haywire. But it could be as simple as somebody else in the house jumping on the internet. It's a little bit like with Adam 4600 in the World Series race yesterday. In a 27 lap race, he had 24 laps of absolutely no problem, and then for the last 3 laps it was awful, and that could have been as simple as down to he's told his family, right, I'm racing from 7:30 until about 9 o'clock, but the race went on a little longer. They flicked on YouTube to watch something, affects the internet connection. The simplest way to improve connections is with an Ethernet cable. It does make a difference, despite what people may believe. And cool, Mr. Ennis, I'm afraid you've joined about 40 minutes too late to get involved in the race here, but nice to know the timing is good. Okay, so we've got 4 laps and the one we are on until the end of this race, and we've got Lefty Hardtail here within DRS range on a Hard Danny in second place. What are you having a look at, Ray? Who are you keeping an eye on the track?
I was just going through all the drivers, seeing where everybody was. Oh, we've got coming out of the pits. He must be going for a fastest lap. He's on the super softs. Who's
that? Wilbur, you say? Or Boran? Tyler. Okay, so Tyler having made another stop then, yeah. If he's put the soft tyres on at this point, maybe he burnt up the previous ones, or as you said, he's going to try and go for a bit of a fastest lap. But I tell you what, Ray, for the remaining few laps of this race, if you could just secretly have a look at a few drivers a bit further down the field, some of the newer guys, keep an eye on them, just see how they're getting on with their driving and keeping it on the road and things like that, as I keep an eye on this battle that's brewing a little bit up at the front here. Second place a Hard Danny and third place Lefty Hardtail. Now, Lefty Hardtail has taken part in quite a few FRR-idays events already, has shown he has got a bit of pace, and a Hard Danny dealing with the penultimate corner slightly better than his namesake Ahar Alex was a little earlier on, but Lefty Hardtail definitely within range to try and attack. But for Millstar out in front, he said he was feeling confident about this one. It showed in qualifying, it showed at the start of the race. Came under a little bit of pressure from Stringy B, who will be frustrated that he's not still in this battle, because if he was, we'd be having Ferrari and Ferrari battling for the lead, and these guys probably catching them up. Twist Royalty in 5th place. He's trying to keep hold of the back of RDB. Now, we saw earlier on Twist Royalty's car jumping about quite a lot, and now it's looking a little bit more stable until he clips the barrier. But he is trying to push that car on those super soft tyres to catch RDB, who is on the prime tyre at the moment. So Twist Royalty may have the opportunity in the final stages of this race to really attack. Now, Boran, he's up to 6th place at the moment. We've not seen much of him through this race, but Ray did mention that he did have a good pit entry, which is one of the things we do like to hear. So, Ray, have you been watching him at all over the course of the race?
I just watched him for that lap, the lap before there, lap 11. He's trying to keep it within the track limits. He's going to cut the corner, he lets go of the steering and puts it back on, so he's just learning that feature of the rest in line. Yeah, trying to make the steering adjustments to. I mean, that's one of the things that is noticeable. You see a guy turn in for a corner, and they go, "Oh crap, I'm going to cut it." Turn away, then turn in, don't cut it. Compared to someone turning in, going, "Oh, I'm going to cut the corner, floor it." There's a big difference between the two of them. Okay, Tyler, R2003, you said he was going to try and go for a fastest lap. I've not seen it pop up with his name saying he's done the fastest lap yet, but he's still got a couple of laps to go to try and achieve that. Will Butler, after running options for quite long in the first stint of the race, now on the prime tyre. Not many laps to do on them, but a little ways off the lead now. So after the pit stop, the bit of a collision with Stringy B, the collision has probably cost him in the region of around about 20 seconds there, but you never know what has been happening on the last few laps for him. I've been watching that guy Myron 2000, the last lap, lap 12. When he came through the tunnel, he lost it.
So a bit of a spin for that guy Myron then. A difficult one for him. I think we actually had some pre-race comments from him. I can't remember if we actually covered them in qualifying. If you want to just quickly check your notes there, right?
Yeah, 2 seconds. They get him up. I think we did. I'm not too sure he wanted. Struggled to find a setup, but ready to bounce back after last result.
Okay, that's right. I remember now. Yeah, he struggled to find a setup around here. I tell you what, it's beginning to get a little bit close up at the front with 1 and about 3/4 of a lap to go. Danny and Lefty Hardtail seem to be catching Millstar. I'm wondering if Millstar's early pit stop is now beginning to hurt his tyres. Lefty Hardtail has not been able to make any kind of move on Danny, but that could have been strategic, realising that the both of them together are catching the leader. So with limited time left in the event, if he's going to try and make a move, it's going to have to be fairly soon. But I do think that Millstar is beginning to struggle on those tyres, or perhaps even having to save fuel. I mean, it is quite humid around the Singapore circuit. Oh no, he's locking up. He's locking up a lot, is Millstar. It could be definitely down to the tyres. He's locking up into quite a lot of the corners, or at least we're getting a lot of tyre smoke from him.
I'm on board, and disqualify. First disqualification.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm on board. Well, Millstar and Carview, his wheels don't seem to be locking up for me, and I can't hear them locking up.
Okay, perhaps it's just the broadcast view giving us a bit of tyre smokers entertainment. It was always possible. Oh, the Force India has dropped off a little bit, but yeah, W. Butler, first of the disqualifications, which it'll have frustrated him coming on the 14th lap of the race for him, very close to the end. But again, this comes down to experience, practice, knowing where you can go on the track, knowing where you need to avoid, knowing how to avoid warnings, and things like that. Danny, he's looking like he's in position to attack for the lead of the race here. Ran a little bit wide though on the exit of turn 7. Put himself up the inside. That's not going to go so well for everybody, except for perhaps Lefty Hardtail. Well, Danny has been disqualified from the session. That could be. And Boran, he has also been disqualified from the session. And so, just as we say, we've done quite well to go 14 laps on the last lap of the race. Quite a few disqualifications coming through. That puts Millstar back into the lead of this race. I tell you what, I think it's done Lefty Hardtail as well.
No. Lefty Hardtail, when Danny got disqualification, slowed Danny's car down, and Lefty Hardtail hit him and spun.
Oh no, we've seen that in one of the World Series races where, I mean, it's another thing that Codemasters should really have got a little bit better. When a car is disqualified, their car really should instantly disappear. We've now got a situation of Twist Royalty on his option tyres on the last lap of the race, harassing Millstar now. This situation has come out of almost nowhere, given the bit of a collision. Can Twist Royalty do it up the inside on the exit of the corner? It's close. He has. It says he's done it.
No, it says Millstar race winner.
It says Twist Royalty to me. Well, we'll find out on the timing screen afterwards, but it's an awkward one. What I was saying about the disqualifications, it should make whoever's been disqualified, it should make their car disappear instantly. Because what we had in one of the World Series races was, guy gets disqualified, car doesn't disappear, car that had been racing him for literally 30 laps of the race and was right behind him, the guy gets disqualified, it slows his car down, the guy behind hits the back of him, loses his front wing, has to make a pit stop. The car should have been made to disappear straight away because it affected somebody else's race. It wasn't the driver's fault, because at that point he got no control over the car. But yeah, it was a very frustrating way for it to end for him. Drew, he's going for a pit lane end to the race. Not really seen that one before. I would laugh if his pit box would have been before the finish line and the car behind was able to get past, but that guy Myron, a couple of laps ago, he was in 10th place. He's now in 7th place. But yeah, frustrating for a hard Danny and lefty hardtail there, being caught up collecting the disqualified car. But a very interesting race, I've got to admit, a very interesting race. And I tell you what, it has put Twist Royalty as the winner of the race. I think it's also put Lefty Hardtail as second place and Millstar in third. I mean, one of the things I would say, given the collision that happened there, was you got one car that's kind of on the attack, ran a bit wide on the exit of a corner, and in a league race would need to be doing an ETL lift. That running a little bit wide has sort of put them in position to be able to attempt an overtake into the next corner. Coming together has happened. That's probably where a corner cut penalty has been given to a hard Danny, and yeah, unfortunately ended up with a disqualification for him. But it does say, oh, Millstar had quite... So Twist Royalty, even though he had 9 seconds worth of penalties himself, I think it was, 6 seconds, he still manages to take the victory ahead of RDB by 1.2 seconds. Millstar, who did have a few penalties, but I wouldn't be surprised if a few of those came in that last lap, bumped down to third place. He'll be a little bit annoyed about that one because that race was going ever so well up until the last 2 laps of the race. So, your final thoughts on that one then, Ray?
It was all going quite well till the end, and then just kind of mucked people up with that disqualification. But some good racing, some improvements needed. But all in, I'd say it was a good race.
All in, it was an interesting one, let's put it that way. If the squirrel had come to Singapore to watch that one, he'd probably have enjoyed it. Okay, somehow I'm going to have to try and work out a reserve driver list out of all of that. I mean, what I would say is I'm glad to see that Boran, after his really dodgy pit entries, appeared to do it right in the race. That's good. That's what we want to see. But yeah, as Ray mentioned, a few improvements for some of the drivers to make there. Okay, pretty much time to bring this to an end. Next up on the Front Row Racing YouTube channel will be live on Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. That's UK time, for the Front Row Racing World Championship Round 13. For the 50% race distance around the Singapore circuit. And as we've seen today, the possibility of collisions is great around this particular track. So it'll be an interesting race to watch.
Yep.
Okay, now for anyone that has been watching and thinks, you know what, I could do better than those guys, the thing to do is to find the Front Row Racing Facebook page. I will try and put a link onto the description of this video, and send us a message saying that you'd like to get involved. We'll send you some information about it, and about how to get in. So anyway, well done to those drivers who took part today. Unlucky to those who didn't make it to the end of the race there, but it was a very exciting race to watch, I will admit. So thank you very much, Ray, for joining us in the commentary box once again.
Well, thank you, and thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. All right, we've been Front Row Racing. This has been the FRR-idays Cup Round 13 in Singapore. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all again soon.